Good morning, June, afternoon, whatever it is. I am in the lobby at O'Connor Hospital. Dad's in therapy. So I'm just recapping some of the things we went over this morning, and I've tried to provide some graphics. Hopefully what we're seeing here kind of matches what you're seeing in the pharmacy. First, I want to just talk a little bit about unit conversion. Okay, because you may come across this in the pharmacy. Okay, we've been talking about milligrams, and that's a unit of measurement. But you need to know sometimes your medication may be expressed in grams. So to get from milligrams to grams, you times by 1,000. Milli, that prefix milli means 1,000. You might be familiar with the word millennium. Millennium means 1,000. Okay, so this is a real simple conversion. There is 1,000 milligrams in 1 gram. So if you see a bottle of medication and that medication tells you that it is 10 grams of medication, it would be times 1,000. That means 1, 2, 3, 4. That means it's going to be 10,000 milligrams of medication. So that's a very simple conversion. You need to be familiar that 1 gram of anything, powder, is 1,000 milligrams. Most of our discussions have been using milligrams, but I wanted you to know that conversion just in case you come across that word gram. Okay, here's a label I pulled off the internet, and this is a powdered label. It is labeled for the 250 milligram to 5 ml concentration, and it will make 80 milliliters of liquid when you add, so when you add 80 milliliters to this bottle, you're going to get that concentration. So that's what you have to work with, is whatever this bottle has in it, when you add 80 milliliters of water, you're going to get 80 milliliters of the concentration of 250 milligrams of medication for every 5 milliliters. Now, let's say you need to know how many milligrams are actually in here, because let's say you need to change that concentration and you want to know actually how many milligrams are in here. So to calculate that, we start with your standard concentration that it's labeled for, 250 milligrams to 5 ml, that's what it's being labeled for. And when you add 80 milliliters, we are asking ourselves how many milligrams are actually there. Okay? We're going to cross multiply. I'm going to color code this for you. So your next line reads 250 milligrams times 80 milliliters. The parentheses and dots, the same thing. That's going to equal
2 for Northeast.
unknown milligrams times 5 milliliters.
For northeast 4125.
Okay, next step, we want to get rid of that 5, and that's x times 5. The opposite of timesing is dividing, so whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So I divide by 5. So now in a calculator, we are going to do 250 times 80 equal sign, that's 20,000, divided by 5. So that's 4,000. So in this bottle is going to be 4,000 milligrams of powder is in this bottle. Now if you look very carefully, really carefully, right here, okay, look really carefully right there where I highlighted. See that side? Do you see the side of the bottle actually says the net contents is 4 grams? Okay, remember 4 grams. To get to milligrams, you simply times by 1,000. So we actually have 4,000 milligrams of medication, which is exactly what we calculated would be there. We calculated there be 4,000 milligrams, and right here, because it says 4 grams is 4,000 milligrams. So our calculations were correct. Let's try another one. Here's another bottle. And on this bottle, it says it has, when you add 200 milliliters, it's going to give you this concentration. And you're trying to ask how many milligrams of medication are in there to begin with. How many milligrams of powdered amoxicillin is in the bottle? You start with your concentration. It's 250 milligrams to 5 milliliters. This bottle reconstitutes to 200 milliliters, and we are calculating how many milligrams of powder is actually in this bottle, because if you need to do something else with it, you need to know how much medication's in there. We're going to cross multiply. I'm going to color code this. Next line is going to read 250 milligrams times 200 milliliters equals 5 milliliters times unknown milligrams. Okay, now we're calculating how much powdered medication is in this bottle. How many milligrams of medication? Okay, we want to get x by itself, so the opposite of timesing is dividing. So I'm going to divide by, technically I'm dividing by 5 milliliters, just 5 if you want. 5 milliliters. The milliliters cancel. This cancels. Okay, so here's your numbers. Okay, so we are going to go, let me see if I can't move this over. Nope, I can't, but okay. Clear, 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 clear. Got it. We are doing it 250 times 200. That's our first calculation, divided by 5. There we go. 250 times 200. And we're going to divide by 5. So we just calculated that there's 10,000 milligrams of powder in this bottle. 10,000 milligrams of medication in the bottle that you're looking at. Now, if you look very carefully at this label here, there's a hint. It says right here on the side that it contains 10 grams of the powder. Okay, now that doesn't mean your calculations are wrong, because that's in grams and that's in milligrams. So to get into grams, we know that there is in 1 gram, there is 1,000 milligrams. I want to know how many grams are in 10,000 milligrams. Cross multiply.
Thanks.
I'm going to bring that math over here on the right. And I have 1 gram times 10,000 milligrams equals 1,000 milligrams times an unknown grams. So I simply divide by 1,000. And when you divide by 1,000, the shortcut here is you can just cancel the zeros. So cancel, cancel, cancel. And you see that 10,000 milligrams of medication is equivalent to 10 grams. If you look really carefully on the bottle right there, it says, lo and behold, that there's 10 grams of powdered medication. Okay, here is basically the problem from this morning, although I pulled a label up and instead of being 100 milliliters, it's 150 because that's all I can find. So here's the storyline I'll help you with. I think this is pretty close to what you were asking. The prescription calls for 10 milliliters twice a day for 10 days with a concentration of 400 milligrams to 500 milliliters. You have a bottle to the right to work with. So here's your bottle, but it's in a 250 milligram to 5 milliliter concentration when 150 milliliters of water is added. You're trying to figure out, how many bottles do I need to fulfill this prescription? Okay, step 1, we just simply figure out how much we need for the prescription to begin with. And if it's 10 milliliters twice a day, that's 20 milliliters per day times 10 days. We need a grand total of 200 milliliters of liquid with the concentration of 400 milligrams to 5 milliliters. That is our goal to get. That's what we want. Problem is, this is what we want, and this is what we've got. So the question is how to get from there to there. Okay. Step 1 is we're going to figure out how many milligrams of medication are in the bottle to begin with, the bottle you're looking at. Okay, because it's a different concentration. So you take that concentration, 250 milligrams over 5 milliliters, and this bottle makes 150 milliliters, that we're asking ourselves how many milligrams are here to begin with. We don't know, or we don't see it on the side of the bottle. That's what we're looking for. So we cross multiply. We have 250 milligrams times 150 milliliters equals 5 milliliters times X milligrams. The opposite of timesing is dividing. So we have 5 milliliters. We're dividing 5 milliliters. That cancels. That cancels. So what you're basically looking at here is we're going to go 250 times 150 and then divide by 5. 250 times 150, divide by 5. 250 times 150 divided by 5. Okay, so in this bottle, we just figured out there's 7,500 milligrams of medication. So in this bottle, you have 7,500 milligrams of powdered medication in that bottle. Okay? Now that we know that, inside this bottle is 7,500 milligrams of powdered medication. We're going to see how many milliliters we can get with this concentration. So now we want a concentration of 400 milligrams over 5 milliliters. And we have 7,500 milligrams to work with, and we're asking ourselves, how many milliliters do we get? And cross multiply. So I'm going to ignore the labels just for now. 400 times X equals 5 times 7,500. Your goal is to get X by itself. The opposite of timesing is dividing. The opposite of timesing is dividing. So we are going to do 5 times 7,500 divided by 4. 5 times 7,500 divided by 4, and that is going to give us 9,375 milliliters of liquid. 9,735 milliliters of medication. Okay, so when you reconstitute this bottle, you're going to get that concentration, or that's how many milliliters you get out of this. So in order to get this concentration, Now, just that looks like a big number. To see if you're correct, this is what we do. Watch very carefully.
Okay, sweetie, thank you.
It should come.
Hello.
How are you? You look like the same
There's my problem. If you look really carefully here, Tune, I knew there was a mistake. I apologize. You have to redo this one. I did not divide by, I knew there was a problem here. I did not divide by 400. I divided by 4. If you look on my calculator here. Okay, so